guys, hope you're doing well. Megan and Anna here. We're just going to be sharing a little bit with you tonight out of John 13 and just kind of some of our thoughts on it. So we're going to start by reading this passage. It's John 13, 21 through 30. Okay, so it says, "After he had said this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and testified, 'Very truly I tell you, one of you is going to betray me.' His disciples stared at one another, at a loss to know which of them he meant. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, 'Ask him which one he means.' Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, 'Lord, who is it?' Jesus answered, 'It is the one whom I will give this piece of bread when I had dipped it in the dish.' Then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, 'What are you about to do? Do quickly.' But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas had charge of the money, some thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the festival or to give something to the poor. As soon as Judas had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night." Okay, so some of the things that kind of stood out to me from this passage, really the main thing is just Jesus' patience and love that he had with Judas despite what he knew that Judas was going to do to him. So, like, Jesus has known since the beginning of time that Judas was going to betray him, and, like, that night he said, "One of you is going to betray me," and he still gave Judas the free will to go and make that decision, knowing that it would hurt Jesus. And Jesus still went to the cross and had Judas in his mind when he died on the cross, and still loved him so much despite what Judas has done to him. And so that just really got me thinking about our own lives and the way that we sometimes turn our backs to Jesus, and he's known forever the things that we would do to turn our backs to him, and he still loves us. And we were in his mind when he went to the cross, and just the way that Judas was. And so, and just how, when you think about it, like, how amazing it is that, like, Jesus knew this would happen, but still let Judas go and make that decision. Like, he gave him the opportunity to make his own decisions. And so that's something that, like, really sets our religion apart from others, is that we are given the opportunity to have free will and make our own decisions. And so even though sometimes we do those things, we take some actions and some steps that might hurt Jesus and, like, make us turn away from him, it still is a decision that we get to make, and he loves us despite those things. So that's something that really stuck out to me reading this passage.
Hey guys, it's Anna. What really stuck out to me was the concept of that internally, once we believe in Jesus Christ, we become saints because we believe in Jesus Christ, and we're made new again in his eyes and God's eyes. But also the concept that even though we are saints and we're saved, we're also become sinners as well, because it's just an internal battle that we're fighting probably every day. And so to kind of explain that a little bit more, when reading this passage, it says that Judas was the one who gave up Jesus. And sometimes we may think, well, that was Satan who did it. We're blaming it on Satan. But when we look at this passage a little bit more carefully, we got to jump back to John 13, verse 2. And it says, "It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas." So there, the word is prompted. So the devil may have put in that idea in Judas's head to say, "Hey, you should give up Jesus," but he didn't ultimately give up. The devil didn't ultimately force Judas to give up Jesus. So it was an idea, it was a temptation. And so then here we see again in John 13, chapter 13, verse when Judas had eaten, this is verse 27, when Judas had eaten the bread, Satan entered into him. And so here we see that Satan is inside of Judas, or his spirit is inside of Judas, but also Judas is still making his own decisions. And so there's where that internal battle is between saint and sinner. And so that's what really stuck out to me. But going off of what Megan says, even though we are internally battling that every day and every moment of our lives, Jesus still loves us. He still is willing to sacrifice what he did for us. So I think that's really cool. And then to just bring like a life example of this passage is just kind of my time starting with youth ministry, taking on more responsibilities, really just enjoying my time with you all on Wednesday nights. I've really been struggling as a saint and a sinner because sometimes Wednesday nights are just really, really hard to lead. And I take that upon myself and I have like, I guess, negative thoughts about how I'm doing or how the group should be run or how people are responding to it. And it's like Satan is sometimes taking over. And then once I realize that, I start really feeling condemned and feeling really bad and realizing like, hey, you shouldn't have those thoughts. You're not holy enough. You're not worthy enough. And you are not enough. And so after reading this passage, it reminds me of God's love for all of us and God's grace for us. And so internally I'm battling the sinner, but I also have to remember the saint, that Jesus died for us. He loves us, and it's okay to make mistakes and learn as long as you really love Jesus. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Peace out, guys.